competition. Same goes with moots, maybe. Same goes with ADR, and that's okay. But the question is, you tried it out. It's not something that, it's not that you've not tried it out, you've no idea what it is. You did try it out, then maybe it was not something that you like to do. So with that background, right, in mind, whether should I be mooting at all, let's go ahead into understanding why, in my opinion. So one thing that I strongly have learned to believe is how immensely mooting is important. At least it shaped my career, I could say, because for me, mooting is so quintessential that there's no other extracurricular, even including internships, right, which are as much helpful as mooting. Because setting aside everything else that mooting helps you do, what the one most important thing that mooting sort of, it hones you with the skill which no other extracurricular activity could do, is researching. And that's very important for law, right? In an internship, the associate or wherever it is that you're interning will not come down to sit with you and explain you how to research. They'll just ask you if you know to use, if you know to research, and then they'll expect your deliverable. The same goes with any internship. The same goes probably with your projects, academics. So the one thing that I believed, or I still believe, is in mooting, that research, right, skill, that zeal to keep researching and keep, solving legal problems. That really is what, at least at the core of the entire idea of mooting as a culture, or mooting as an extracurricular, that our college and so many other colleges across the globe engage themselves in. The core of everything, the core of all of that is research. And that's why you should try out mooting. That's why you should try your hand at how to moot. Okay. And we'll come to IMCC because, again, one thing you probably don't know is that very few colleges across our country, very few NLUs allow junior batches the kind of freedom, the kind of autonomy to participate in their intra-university moots as much as our university does. And we take pride in allowing that, since we believe there's no need to waste any time since you've joined law school for you to try your hand at mooting. And if you succeed, you'll do a bigger moot and a better moot and perform much better, right? Rather than then there's your first moot experience, and then there's the second, which is going to be better than the first. So that's one thing which is not written in the rules of IMCC, and in my opinion, that's great, because when I was in my first year, the number of people who participated in IMCC are 350 out of 800 odd students in college. The number is much lower today, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So IMCC as an extracurricular in our college is if it were an on-campus event, believe you me, it is. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of activity going on. It's just very lively, right? In the sense that there's a competition happening, and there's judges coming from, and then there's an organizing committee which takes care of everything and all of that. But from participants' point of view, of course, I can imagine how I know how my first moot experience was, and it's terrible, my IMCC that I have participated in. But all right, cool. Enough of me chatting. Let's talk about what you guys want me to talk about. Moot, IMCC, moots in general, IMCC. Don't ask me questions on the problem. I've not read the problem. I'm aware that the problem is about some personal law and some constitutional issue. That's as much as I know about it. Some personal law matter. Yes, Akhil, you don't have to raise your hand. You can just
Yes, thank you for that introduction. But actually, we have been provided with that problem, but we don't know what is a memorial and what is everything and how this process will be through. So if you can just guide us. Yeah.
Right. So it's actually a great question what a memo is and all of that. To give you a very simple answer as to what a memorial is it's a written submission that one party, say the applicant, you're doing legal methods, right? So there's applicant, and there's respondent, there's petitioner, and there's defendant, all of that, plaintiff and defendant, and all of that, where both parties they give to the court their arguments on law and facts. So it's having a set format of how you go about each and everything on the issues that the court has framed, or the court has allowed you the liberty to frame issues based on the factual matrix that's in front of you, right? It sort of, yeah, it's a written document. It's a written submission of all arguments that you have that you can put forth to the court. And memorial is something that you will do even after law school, wherever you are. If you're, say, in a chamber practice, more prominently if you're in a chamber practice, right? So it's nothing. It's also something that happens in real life courts where you submit a written submission. And as to how to go about it in IMCC in particular, or how to go about it in, no, I don't have any problem. Like I said, I don't think there's anything worth recording because it's just going to be question and answers. But if you want to record it with a third party thing, you go ahead. I don't have any. I am cool. Right. So what I was saying, memo, right? Memo is important. It's a written submission. And how to go about drafting a memo, writing memo, it's actually a skill that you can't quite crack or get it 100% right at your first go. But at least in it, and it's a very lengthy process. So at least in this sort of 45 minutes, 1 hour we got, it's not possible for me to sort of sit down with you. I would love to sit down with you, maybe separately, to sort of guide you on how you would go about your memo. I'll be happy to do that if you guys want to. But if in terms of a general understanding, I'm sure the Moot Society has something planned for you guys in perhaps the upcoming days or weeks, which will probably be another sort of session. Whoever it is that the Moot Society decides will take the session for you. They will be, so then perhaps it'll be a 3-4 day sort of course with 2 hours or 3 hours each day, where you not only learn about memo, you also learn about speaking, you also learn about arguing before the court, you also will learn about researching for the written submissions, which is the memorial or the memorandum that few moots call it, right? So yes, that's what a memo is. Unfortunately, the process is so lengthy that I can't sit down. I mean, I would love to, but we don't have the kind of time, nor am I prepared, frankly, to sort of run you through all the entire step-by-step process to help you with it. But yeah, for your understanding, it's a written set of submissions. The rules I believe have a format. One suggestion for you could be that you go about the rules and sort of take it from there, right? So there's an issue that the problem itself has. So that's one good thing that IMCC does. And what you could do then is break down the issue into sub-issues, right? Research on on a particular point of law or fact. Each one suggestion or one advice to go about formation of sub-issues perhaps is to sort of take one single element, right? Say, for example, if you have to prove A, B, and C in one issue, one idea is you take A as one sub-issue, prove A, then go to B as the second sub-issue, prove B, and then go to C as the third sub-issue, prove C. And in A, to prove A, there could be two more things, X and Y. So that's a sub-issue is what we call it, right? Then prove X, prove Y, that will prove A, and then you go to B. So that's the sort of trickle down approach that normally you see in written submissions or memos, where there's issue, sub-issue, sub-sub-issue, sub-sub-sub-issue. That could go on till the ball is in your court. You can go on as long as you want, as long as you're proving the main issue that is there in your problem. You are good to go. So and one more thing is that each sub-issue or sub-issue, like the ultimate point that you're going to prove, has to be it has to be a single sort of, like if you say pull out a sub issue on its own, it doesn't make sense. But if you combine it with 2-3 other things, then it becomes sort of a combination of things which would prove another particular thing, right? So yeah, that's how you normally go about a memo. But there's so many details as to how you draft. Like there's a particular drafting style or drafting method, because it's a formal document that you're submitting to the court. I'm not sure which forum it is. Which forum it is before you for your IMCC? Anyone?
It's a Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, right? So yeah. So there you have it. Supreme Court. It's a formal, of course, setting. So there has the style of drafting also matters a lot. And then one more thing perhaps to add on to is that every point that you make in each of these sub issues that I'm talking about has to be backed up by law, by research, case law, legislation. Books or journals, I wouldn't say are as much reliable as case laws. Or commentaries is something that you can rely on, definitely. But otherwise, books are not reliable for you. But that's again an aspect of research you'll probably learn when you guys have that session. So yeah, I hope I answered the question rather in a lengthy way.
Yeah, actually, I have one more question regarding the oral rounds. Like
Right.
when you submit, like when you go to the oral rounds, so is it like the question answering session with the judges, or it is like something judges being like the contested being grilled and something like that? How it goes?
So no, it's definitely not a Q&A. And yes, there will be grilling. But the idea of oral rounds is it's not as much as okay, we'll come to the grilling part in a bit. But in an oral round, what normally happens is that it's your presentation of your arguments, the ones that you've written in the memo, or if there's anything that you found after you've submitted your memo, you can add that as well. That's welcome, right? And then the idea of oral rounds is the idea of oral advocacy rather is to present to the court in a formal, again, setting where there's like 3 judges and then there's you. The entire beginning with the facts of the case, and then the legal issues which have arisen and the law behind the legal issue, and the interpretation of the law, right, concomitant with the facts that you have in front of you, right? All of that spoken by you is what is oral advocacy, oral rounds that you have. But there's of course it's of course not this simple. They're like, again, I think our seniors, like when I was in my first year, there was a 4th year group of students who've come up with 8-pointer on oral advocacy, the 8 things which you must sort of check to get oral rounds right. Also explaining each of those 8 bits in a step-by-step process. I think, again, I don't have that in front of me. I wish I did. It's probably somewhere in my emails, but that would be helpful. Hopefully, you'll get access to that. But yes, that's what oral advocacy is. It normally is with a transcript that you have with you. Transcript is nothing but your speech that you type down and you print it out with you before you go to the oral round. And you try to memorize your transcript so that it's not like a by-hearted sort of speech that you give, or something that you look down and read. Like there's a lot of non-verbal cues which will become important in oral advocacy. So definitely not a Q&A session. But as far as questions are concerned, particularly with respect to a moot format, the idea of questions is as against your belief that the judge is going to trap you into something that you don't know, or trap you into a question that you don't know the answer to, so that you lose out on the marks that you'll get and all of that. As against that idea, the idea of grilling, or the idea of or the entire questions that the bench asks, is to help you reach a particular conclusion which in the judge's mind is the right conclusion. And I don't think there'll be a lot of people who will say this, but remember this: when you are being asked questions from a bench as instead of 3 people or 2 people, how many ever. The idea is for you to is they're trying to not trap you into something that you don't know. Rather, their effort via questioning is for you to reach a particular conclusion, right, which will benefit you. So a lot of times, if you listen to the question very closely, there is an answer in that question. But the participants, what I have seen is that they get to, overwhelmed by the questions that they don't see it, and then they don't answer it. And one unfortunate, famous thing that goes on in our college, I've not seen it in any college. That's very sad. Is I plead ignorance. So if you've heard this from your seniors, don't use it in your moot. Don't use it in IMCC. Don't use it anywhere, because ignorance is not an excuse. You're a lawyer, you're an advocate or a lawyer or whatever, going to the court with your case with you. If you don't know an answer to, there is better ways to answer the question rather than saying I'll plead ignorance. Right. So I think to get that off everyone's head, hopefully, there will begin a culture where this doesn't go around anymore, right? The entire your lordship, I plead ignorance. Yes, Priya, I'm sorry. What's up?
Yeah, so my question is, does all of this happen? Sorry for the muffled voice, I'm wearing a mask. Yeah,
No,
so
no.
does all of this happen individually, or is there a teaming, a process or something?
So yes, in IMCC you do have teams based on a sort of predetermined criterion, based on your memorial marks that you get and all of that. There will be fixtures which will be released. In an IMCC, the pattern that we follow is that there'll be A versus B, where A is petitioner and B is respondent, for example, in one round. And in the second round, you'll have a B versus A or B versus C. You'll not have the same opponent again, where B is petitioner and C is respondent. The idea is that one party, one individual participant, appears before a court twice on both sides, like once from A and once from applicant and once from respondent. So that's the idea. Yes, there'll be teams. However, if you go on to participate in moot court competitions, it will be a different sort of strategy, because you'll not be an individual there. You will be a team of 3 people or 2 in some cases, but 2 is minimum, where there's 2 speakers per side and there's 2 teams, say NLUO versus Nalsar, for example, right? 2 universities, so 3 people who are representing NLUO in that moot and 3 people who are representing Nalsar in that moot. And they go up against each other. The speaker 1, speaker 2 from NLUO, speaker 1, speaker 2 from Nalsar. Okay, and then that's how that happens. So it always happens in teams. It's not it's not like it's going to be a monologue and you go there, you present, you come back, right? It's going to be it's always going to be a versus B thing. Yes, Siddhant. Right. No, there'll be no teams. It'll be an individual. Sorry if I got you confused there. You're on your own, right? I think with respect to IMCC, the only difference. So, Moot Society. I've been a part of Moot Society myself. What we try to do is try to make the IMCC experience as much close to a real moot competition experience. But unfortunately, with the sort of limitations that we have due to n number of reasons, we just can't get a team set up right in a predetermined sort of format and all of that. So for IMCC, you'll be on your own. But what I have seen is that you'll always find some help from your friends who are appearing from the same side. So there's one thing called allotted side and the other side and all of that. However, so based on the preliminary rank list that you guys will get, that's your, say, primary side. And then the other side is your respondent side. I'm not sure if you're following the same format. I think my memory is I don't think we're following that format anymore, are we?
No, it's just applicant one, then
Petitioner
respondent.
first and respondent second, right? So what earlier used to be the case is that there's one allotted side and there's one other side. So what we used to do is everyone has the same allotted side, say plaintiff, and then if you have your friends amongst them, you sit down and you argue all that. But I think this is also good. Since everyone is applicant, you can sit down with your friends, and because I mean, you look at the end of the day, it's a competition. But the one thing that is good about IMCC is that it is a competition in the comfort of your home, right? Home being, say, college, second home. And there's nothing better than getting it wrong here rather than outside, because the stakes are much higher, right? When you go out representing your university in another college, in another city, hopefully, if the things are not online, right? Or in another country, because there are international moots where you travel to a different country altogether to participate in a moot and come back. I've done that in my second year for the Viz moot, right? The stakes are much higher. And believe you me, it's overwhelming on another level. But at the comfort of your home, with the judges who are more often than not are your alumni. So they've been in your position that you are currently. So they know probably what's going on in your mind, right? So with in the comfort of your home, there's no better sort of exposure that you get with respect to IMCC, right? But yeah, I think in short answer to your question is there's no teams, you're on your own. But nothing that doesn't mean like you're like left alone in your in your participation, in your approach. Vaidehi?
Yeah, so I'm completely unfamiliar with the whole process. So can you please explain us like the whole process? Like the IMCC released a tentative schedule where they have mentioned certain things like submission of memorandum on behalf of the petitioner with penalty, release of clarification, and exchange of memorandum. I don't know what these things are, to be honest. So can you please explain us briefly?
Right. Cool. So it begins with the release of Moot Proposition, which is drafted by someone that the Moot Society gets in touch with a couple of months ago, right? And then the idea behind clarifications could be twofold. Normally, not only in IMCC, since let's assume you guys will moot and get some good citations for the college later on, the idea of clarifications are it has its own terminology in different moots, but the idea is twofold. A is if there's a genuine error in the problem, the judge the person who's drafted is also human. He could have made a mistake, right? Or if there is, hypothetically, say the problem is released today, and 2 days later there's an update. So there's a new Supreme Court judgment, or there's a new legislation, right? Then what the clarification will try to do in order to make the moot experience contemporaneous, what it does is it allows the flexibility of changing the moot problem to that extent, right? Or one more thing that the clarification does, and this is something that happens very often in international moots and like very reputed national moots as well within India as well, is clarification adds on to the facts of the case, which could help you with your arguments. And there's a lot of instances for me, like I've experienced this myself, and I've seen a lot of people where clarification has changed the entire course of the argument structure that you have built up till the date of the clarification. Sometimes it's unfortunate, sometimes it goes in your favor. Like, you keep researching and you figure, like, this is one point that I don't understand, right? Had the fact been something else, it would have helped my case a lot. And then say 3-4 days later, the clarification comes out and it says that this is the fact. Then that's like a eureka moment for you. Like, you know what? Yes, this is exactly what I wanted. This is going to help me in my case. Clarifications assist you to that extent. That's the purpose behind clarifications. So clarification, again, is a very nice tool that the drafters of a problem use to spice things up in the competition to sort of help students. But as participants, again, clarifications come from a set of questions that you can ask to the drafter, because the set of questions that you ask either to TMS now or later to an organizing committee in a national or international mode, those questions are then forwarded to the drafter. He's going to take a look at them and see if he's going to answer it. Like, he can decide to like ignore it, or he'll answer that for you. So it's your opportunity to ask the drafter a question. Of course, not like what's the argument. Those are not the questions that you can ask in a clarification. But a question on, say, a factual interpretation, or probably an omission or an error, right? Or anything that you think needs to be clarified in the problem because it's just a void which doesn't make sense, right? So that's the clarification. From your perspective, you can ask questions, or then the drafter responds with release of clarifications. That I think is the next thing. And stop me if there's a step I missed. But I think after clarifications, this applicant memorial submission or petitioner memo submission with penalties is nothing but if you're late with your submission, you're going to lose 5 marks more or 10 marks more and all of that. So with penalties is nothing but you're late for your submission, so you're losing out on a few marks. And then I think there's a preliminary rank list which is released based on the score that you get out of 100, I believe, in your from your applicant memo. And then what they do with the preliminary rank list is TMS's headache, right? It's not yours. But all you have to focus on is the respondent memo, the submission of which will be very close. So yes, the respondent memo submission with penalties again is the same thing. And then memorial exchange is so once you have a preliminary rank list and everything else, there's like fixtures drawn by TMS. It draws the fixtures. So you have your team code allotted in the interest of anonymity of the so that nobody knows who's the other participants too. But I think the anonymity is for the judges. Like, they don't know if they've seen you elsewhere and all of that. So there'll be a code. So say there's 101 versus 151, right? Then the memorials that these two people drafted will be exchanged. And the idea is, and this is something that you learn in your oral advocacy session, if hopefully there's one, is that the idea is in the interest of what's going to happen in the courtroom, or the competition between the two sides, not you as participants, but the plaintiff and respondent as entities before the court or before the bench. Okay, one person knows what the other person is going to argue. So say, for example, if you and I are against one another, you send me your memo. Like, I find something which is flawed. I find something that's incorrect. I'll go ahead and say, Your Lordship, the respondent, say if I'm the petitioner, I'll say that the respondent has made an error while they were arguing that A, B, and C, while the position is X, Y, and Z, and this is the reason, right? That's one reason why memo exchange is done, so that you have an idea as to what the respondent is, what the other side is going to say. As a respondent, you have a advantage to this end, because if you understand how the argument structure happens, the petitioner goes ahead for 10 minutes and says what he has to say, and then you go. So as a respondent, you have his memo with you, and you have with you what he said in front of the court. So as a respondent, you go ahead and say, you go ahead and say that this is what he said in the memo, this is not correct. Additionally, the petitioner has come here and argued so-and-so, which is incorrect interpretation. And as far as we are concerned, the interpretation is this, and the reason for the interpretation is, again, A, B, and C, right? So all of actually memo exchange and all of these tactics boil down to how you, as a part of team strategy or your own strategy, right, approaching the competition, how you wish to deal with it. But one good way to go about memo exchange is, once you receive your opponent memo, look up the table of contents and understand the argument structure. So there's a table of contents in your memo. You know what it means. And the thing that we spoke about, sub-issue, issue, sub-issue, sub-issue, sub-issue. So all of that is in one page. So if you look at the table of contents, you'll get an idea as to what the respondent or the petitioner is trying to say through that document, and what he could probably say in the 10 minutes that he will have tomorrow. So if I receive the memo today, I will be prepared as to what my opponent is going to say, and then I'll think about, all right, this is what he's going to say. How do I respond to this particular argument of his? Or how do I respond to this particular issue that he's brought up? Probably something that I missed out on, especially when it comes to sub issues or sub issues. If there's like things that you missed out on and all of that, right? So yeah, that's memo exchange, and I think after memo exchange, it's oral rounds, right? Which is, there's nothing else after memo exchange. Cool.
Thank you
Shamil.
so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a bit of clarification. So we might be going against our seniors also in the oral
Yeah,
round.
very well. Yeah, you will. It's not a mic, you will. Hopefully, you will. That'll be a good experience.
Thank you.
Yeah. I went up against the third year, I remember. I was terrified. But it was good. You know, after your oral round is over, all you can imagine is how all you do is you appreciate the problem that's in front of you. And even though like you've screwed up, you've not answered any question, you've just blanked out, right, for 5 minutes out of 10, and you come out and you think to yourself, right, this is how it went, but just how beautiful the moot proposition was, and just how relevant the questions the judges asked were, right? One more thing I think you guys will benefit out of knowing is that moot propositions in 99% of the cases are prepared based on a current legal battle that's going on, right? So you are effectively researching, again, emphasis on researching. You are researching on issues, right, on the internet, on issues which, like, advocates who are really fighting that battle out in the Supreme Court, right, are researching, or say they're juniors. So as a first-year student, there's nothing more rewarding than knowing that you are researching on issues, real issues. Of course, names are changed. Like there's a fictitious Supreme Court of I don't know. We used to have names like Aryavarta and all of that instead of Supreme Court of India, right? Or Supreme Court of Ruritania and all of that. So all of these names that are fictitious. So knowing that you will be researching on issues that are out there, right, still unknown as to what the position is. Like you will be using same case laws that you might see that the court, say 1 month later, uses in a particular judgment. Say if at all like you'll have the chance to come across a judgment on the same issue. You'll find it surprising that a particular case law that you used in your memo is also something that judgment will use to say that the petitioner has argued this particular case. So yes, that's one very, very interesting sort of experience with respect to, yes, Samyu, your name is, yes, Samyu.
Yeah, I got it. You can call it Soumya.
Samya, right.
So I wanted to ask that all the participants who submit their memorandum, are they eligible for that oral rounds, or based on the ranking list they are made eligible?
No, I think the ranks, of course, matter, but from the point of view of an oral round, oral advocacy, probably the rank matters. But the suggestion would be that there's nothing that's going to stop you from submitting a respondent memo, right, and getting a researcher's rank. I think, okay, we missed this. There's, after the oral rounds happen, there's an entirely different process. I think we'll come to that in just a bit. But so even if you say, unfortunately, don't meet the top 100 criteria, right, your memo is, the score, unfortunately, that you have received is not in the top 100, you will unfortunately not be able to be there in the oral rounds, but there's nothing still stopping you from submitting a respondent memo and getting a researcher rank and participating in a moot, right? You will use your researcher rank, and maybe you'll have a shot at oral rounds over there if the three of you decide that, okay, Soumya can speak because he couldn't do it because in IMCC and all. And then, like, again, that would be again a team decision amongst themselves as to who will be the two speakers and who will be the one researcher in a moot. But not qualifying in top 100 is not the end of the world. Most certainly not. You can still get a researcher rank, you can still get a moot, you can still participate in a moot and do well. And the fact that you're not in top 100 will not even be, I don't know, everyone will forget that. So yes, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, I got it completely. One more thing I wanted to ask you that can you please provide us with any such moot court competition memorandum? Means this on the same topic, both applicant and the respondent, so that we can take a look at it.
I think the Moot Society will do it. They will send out, right, previous year memos.
Yeah, we will send that out. But we cannot guarantee of the subject area, but yeah, we will send
No,
out.
yeah, subject, actually, you know what, subject area won't matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. As far as you guys are concerned, even if there's a personal law memo in front of you, you'll not understand the head and tail of it, right? Because personal law is something I studied in 4th year, and I still today have no idea what it says, unfortunately, right? But look, again, the idea is that even if it's a new field of law, new area of law, as you keep researching and as you keep spending hours together in front of SCC database or Manupatra database or just Google search. So here's one thing that I remember we were mocked at, right? When I was probably my 2nd year or something, where I don't know, it was an IMCC. The judges who came to IMCC, and there's a feedback session that goes on. Okay, after the oral rounds, there's this session called feedback session where the judges will speak to the participants and sort of answer any questions that they have. Where the judge said only one thing. And he said that the participants did not know how to use Google as a search engine tool to research. And he opined, which with the benefit of hindsight, it's true, is Google is all you need to research for anything that you want. Like if you know how to use Google well, how to use keywords to search for the things that you want. Of course, case laws, you'll get it on SCC or Manupatra or all of these. Is mooting? No, it's not. Believe you me, it's fun. It's not stressful at all. Absolutely. It depends on how you take it, actually. I mean, there's nothing to be stressed about. Even if you're not going anywhere, if you're stuck in a particular place, that's okay. There'll be people to help. There'll be seniors to help, right? Or you yourself will come out of it. But either way, I think the experience of mooting, IMCC or any moot, international or national, the experience of it will triumph probably the stressful. So stressful, not in the sense that you're using where people say that, oh my god, mooting is like it's too long, too hard, but the point is that here's an example. There are moots, right, which go out for 1 year. Okay, like say I've participated in 2 moots which were 1 year each, right? If 1 year on 6 pages of a problem or 5 pages of a problem is stressful, yes, it is. And was it not fun? It was a lot of fun. Like the way we looked at the problem while we were approaching the actual competition dates were much different than how we looked at it when we began, right? So if you ask me the question whether 1 year on a particular moot problem is stressful, yes. Whether 1 year on one moot it's stressful, yes. But not in the sense that you should be afraid of doing it, because it's not as much about whether it's going to be stressful or whether it's going to be something that I can do or whether it'll be something that I'll fail to do, or it's not about all of that. It's all about wherever you land up, right? From your IMCC experience, from your national moot experience, from your international moot experience, wherever you land up, right? What you gain out of the entire experience at the end of when the dust settles, right? When everything falls down, what you stand to gain out of the experience, I think that would triumph any hardship that you could have gone through in its preparation. Cool. I was saying something else before this question came up. But all right. Anything else? Any more questions? Yes.
Yeah, this might be a stupid question, but
No,
why
there's no question is stupid.
okay, just why does it take so long to prep for a moot? As I said, like 1 year and such.
Right. So here's one thing you'll probably do in 1 year's time. Since on the matter of subject area, right, personal laws, divorce, and things like that, or criminal law, like the CRPC provisions, CBC provisions that you have no idea what they mean, right? So one thing that happens, the one good thing, this doesn't happen in IMCC. Again, I think one of the downsides of it. But when you pick up a moot, the first thing that you do is what we call pre-reading, right? It's called the pre-reading phase of a moot, where, see, in 9 out of 10 cases, moots, the practice area of the moot is known, right? For example, if it's Jessup, it's international law. If it's WIS, it's arbitration, right? If it's Stetson, it's environment law, international environment law, right? If it's Manfred Lax, it is space law. Like, look at the terms: environment law, space law, arbitration. What are these, right? So if you pick up these moots, I'm talking about international ones, of course, right? If you pick up these moots, what you begin by doing is pre-reading, right? There's one moot called competition law as well, it's based on the European competition law. It's the TFEU, right? Their own charter, which governs their own sort of business. And there's one competition law moot out of it, and competition law is something that we learn in college in 9th semester. Like, if you have the benefit of participating in a competition law, then your 9th semester subject is a cakewalk, right? So since all of these are so complicated, right, the subject area is 90% of the cases known. Even in national moots, it's known, right? You begin by pre-reading, right? You pick up textbooks, commentaries, your library. Although the building is not great or the room is not great, but the collection, believe you me, is wonderful. It's one of the many underappreciated things on campus. You will see people saying that there's no library. The library building is like terrible, in terrible shape and all of that. But the collection, if you look hard enough, is amazing of our college, the library that we have, right? So you pick up relevant books, textbooks, commentaries, and you start reading them, and you sort of get an idea of what you could expect from the moot problem. So this pre-reading phase happens before the moot proposition comes out, and this pre-reading phase itself, at minimum, goes on for 2 months if it's an international moot, or depending on the area of law, actually. But at least for 1 month, you will spend your time pre-reading, right, on that particular area of law. And that's actually very exciting, because what you're effectively reading about is an area of law that you've never thought existed. Like, how many of you knew space law exists, right? Or okay, there's 2 raised hands, or 4, right? You guys knew. That's great. Good. So anyway, the point is that you will spend your time reading up on all of these things. That will be 2 months, right? Then the moot problem comes up. Depending on the moot, of course, you will say spend another 2-3 months researching and preparing the memo, and the result for the memo comes, and then you prepare for the oral rounds for another 2 months. Oh, good. MUNs are interesting. I don't think have a culture of MUN, but there's a committee called IDIA, which does MUNs on campus. So if you have the benefit of participating, you do. That's great. So yes, that's why it takes a lot of time, I think. But I would believe that you will not even know that the time that you're running out of, you not even know that you're spending so much time. All you can worry about is that you have a memo submission 2 months from now, right? And there's so much to do, and you don't have enough time to do it, right? And before you know it, the memo submission is 1 week from now, and there's so much to do, right? And memo submission, again, you know what? Probably something that you can benefit out of, use in your IMCC only. a memo submission, a memo drafted at the first instance should not be, and I'll use the word should, right, the final memo that you submit. Right, there has to be a first draft, second draft, third draft. Like I know of 7 drafts of a memo, entirely different memo, 30, 40 pages of just arguments, 7 of them, right, each one better than the previous one before the final output came out, right? At least 5. Like I think in the mood that we've participated, we had 5 different drafts, and each one of them are different on their own. The issue is the same, the sub issue is the same, the research is the same. Research actually, it keeps getting better. Like if you find a new case law, or if you find a new different interpretation which made more sense than the previous one, sure, you will adopt that particular argument to that extent. But you will have so many drafts, like your computer will be filled with all of this, and you'll have like, final draft and final draft V1, final draft V2, final draft V3, version 1, 2, 3, right? So for your IMCC, the advice would be that please don't go ahead with the first draft. Try to finish your draft memo, I don't know, if it's an applicant memo, 1 week before the submission, and keep improving on the draft. Responding ke liye, I don't think you'll have the kind of time, but immediately the advice, the suggestion would be that immediately after the applicant memo, start working on the respondent memo, irrespective of whether you'll make it to the top 100 or not, because like I said, it's inconsequential from the point of view that the respondent memo will still matter, right? Maybe you'll not go to the all rounds, but the respondent memo still counts, right? So the suggestion would be that immediately after petitioner submission, begin with respondent. Again, sort of to know, like I said, first draft is always the worst draft. Like that's never, like I have not seen at least any memo which was perfected in the first go. Not that even the last draft is perfect, okay? If you will realize that when you're preparing for your competition and you look at the memo, because of course that's like the document, right? You'll notice so many things that you could have done differently, but you realize, you know what, this was the 5th version of it. How many other versions could we have made? And knowing this, depending on the competition, again, it'll be the timeline is such they will realize the need for so many drafts, perhaps, or the complexity of the problem and all of that. And then, so that's what takes time. And I think the same applies to transcripts as well. In terms of when you say prepare for your oral rounds, there's no one version of transcript. There's at least, since it's your own speech, even you keep changing your transcript till the day of the competition, and you keep changing. You change your transcript even after your first round. Say the first round goes, depending on the format of the competition, right? Say there's a second round, and you feel that from your first round experience, you want to change something, you change your transcript even then, and then between oral rounds and between memo and oral rounds, you practice oral speaking with your team like 10 times a day, with your seniors in the college, with your with people outside university that you wish to approach, who could assist you, your alumni, if they can be of help. If you have the benefit of coach, like there's a concept of coaches for moots, where say a practicing professional, like there's in international moots, there's an entire community of coaches, right? And their aim is to help teams who are participating, right? With their preparation, and they are appointed as coaches. The organizing committee recognizes them as coaches, and a great deal of that. But yeah, so this coach, right, and you give your oral rounds to the coach as well. Your 7 versions of the memo will be given to the coach. There'll be inputs from him in terms of or him or her, in terms of what you want to change and all of that. So yeah, all of this will take time. It'll take a lot of time. Cool. Anything else? Any other queries? With respect to IMCC, just take it as it goes, because today will sessions be arranged to teach about drafting techniques? It'll be fun. I would say that much. It'll be overwhelming, but it'll be fun. Drafting techniques, I'm not the one. I think Parth.
Yeah, we will be organizing them soon. So you don't have to worry about it. We will take care of everything and help you perform well in the MCC. So we hope for your enthusiastic participation in it. Actually, you are in your second semester, and I believe that this is the best time to start mooting and get an experience on it. I think Yash can agree on that.
Oh yeah. In terms of motivation and overwhelming, hear me out. I participated in a moot in my second year, right? The field of law that I fortunately took, like I had the chance of participating in that moot, for which I'm very grateful. And since then, I've not looked back on any other field of law, and I'm now making a career out of it. So, how is that for motivation, right? The fields of law that you will, if you look at the annexures to the rules, there's like, I don't know, 50 moots, right? Each one of them are important in its own way, you know. And the field of law that you are going to choose probably is something that you'll be doing for the rest of your life, or you wish, you know, say you build a career out of. And I have seen many people, right, choosing or deciding that they want to do this particular, they want to go ahead with this particular field because of their moot experience. And at the end of the day, going back to how you'd expect your 5 years to be, right? At the end of your 5th year, your law school story has to build a narrative. You know, it has to build a narrative to what your career is going to be going out of law school. So this is not the end. Like 5 years is not going to be the end of whatever's going to come. But these 5 years are going to be is going to be all about how you're going to build a narrative, right, to what you wish your future is going to be, your career is going to be in a particular field of law, anything that you choose, irrespective of n number of choices that you have. Like, you're going to choose one of them, right? And at the end of the day, everything that you do, from your internships, from ADRs, from moots, right, or from your publications as well, don't go about doing 10, 20 of those. I think that's a friendly advice, not related to moots, right? It has to build a narrative, and moot, in my opinion, is the first step, and it's a very strong step. So when I say I participated in moot, in the Viz moot in my second year, and I loved international arbitration, and I am now, and then after that I've done A, B, and C, and the moot has exposed me to all of these things, and now I'm making a career out of it. It builds a narrative. It tells a story. It tells your story, right? When you go to a recruiter, or say your LLM application, or anything that you do, right? That's A. And B is socializing, right? As much as the entire process is overwhelming, what's also going to be overwhelming is the people that you meet, right? Not only your own peers from other law schools. Say you're in your first year, you're in your second year, right? You do a moot, and then say you will find students of other colleges who are in the same year as you, or maybe a year younger or older, right? And then not only them, or interacting with them, or building a connection with them, or socializing with them, but also the professionals who are going to be there, right? If you want to take the example of coaches, in your say in an international moot, you have a coach, and if you go to the competition, right, there'll be, say for example, I'll give you my own example, right? In the moot that I participated, in the year that I participated, there were 136 teams. Okay. And I don't know, there were about 5,000 of them in that hall that I walked into. Right. and each one of them was an opportunity for me to socialize, right, with and connect with people, like be in touch with them, connect with people, and because I think going ahead, all your the path that you've chosen, hopefully you've chosen it, right. All of this is going to be about how well you socialize and connect with people, which is as much important as your legal acumen in terms of how you crack complex legal problems and you come up with solutions to them. So from that point of view as well, mood is a mood that you participate in is going to be so important. The people that you meet, the judges that you meet with, like a mood is always followed up by a social event, a social gathering, because at the end of all of it, what matters is that everyone gets to connect with people. And the beauty of it is that all of us are like-minded individuals. Like everyone who is doing a moot X, right, is doing it, or at least let me put it this way: the people who are going to come to judge or coach a particular moot are like experts in that field, or who are like practicing in that, right? Right, I gotta go. Anyway, I was going to say that yeah, it's an amazing social opportunity. So yes, the preparation and the participation of it it is tedious, but like I said, you're not alone. You'll be having your as well, and from your own alumni. There'll be a lot of help, but yes, I think at the end of the day, again, yourself together through which, believe me, will immensely help you. In any cases, it is kind of cool to have which you'll be learning in your 5th year, for example, or in your 4th year, for example. So yes, that's the idea of mooting. That's what at least we all the mooters, right, of the university. I got one advice. I was hoping someone will ask. Sure, it's either at the back of your head or it is something that you will come across. And if you do, again, I'm not sure how many people will be telling you this. Please, for heaven's sake, do not participate in 5-6 moots. Right? Do not participate in 2-3 moots at a time. Right? Do not participate in. Sure. Look, if you want to go be, IMCC list, but there's no. I mean, I fail to see the reason why anyone would participate in one moot at a time, because notion of I don't know, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve out of participating in so many. At the end of the day, again, in your effort for yourself, right? This thing that you've done doesn't make sense. It just doesn't fit in. If a moot let it take 1 year, and that's all. At the end of it, you kind of settle like in your 3rd year or in your 4th year maximum. Like you'll not find your 5th year seniors participating in moots. Like I've stopped mooting since my 3rd year. I've participated in 3 and I'm done. You don't have to participate in 5-6 moots. Unlike other competitions like debates and ADR, you can participate in 20 debates a year. That's okay. But that's just not how mooting works, because the objectives are different, right? So the advice is that, again, a culture which is developed, unfortunately, because of the entire online thing, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry has to conduct a moot. Let them conduct it, right? But believe in the system that exists in the college is what I would say. This is going on. I'll come back and hello.
So I hope you guys, if you have any doubt, like how the MCC
Right.
process will work?
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah, no problem. I was just filling it.
Okay. Right. I'm really sorry. I'm glad that there's so many people in the meeting, which means I believe or I hope this was helpful. Session was helpful. But yes, just trying to a ridiculous number of moods because that's antithetical to everything that I've tried to say. So yes, but as far as taking off from where I stopped, participating in one moot or two moots is all you need. Participate in an IMCC to get a hang of a moot. Participate in a national moot to get a hang of an actual moot competition, right? Go ahead and participate in one or two international moots, right? And you will click. In like pre-COVID, I think this is how things were happening. Like people, like of course the numbers will drop. Say 100 people out of a batch participate in, out of 180, 100 participate in IMCC, 50 take up a moot, right? Out of those 50 people who participated in a competition, 25 will participate in a second competition, and then 10 more will participate in the third. From a college's standpoint or from TMS's standpoint, since I've been there, that's okay, right? Because that's a job well done. From a batch's perspective as well, as a batch, say the batch of 2026 has the batch has exceeded everyone's expectations in terms of achievements that they won, right? That's enough, right? So people will drop out. So it's all about whether you want to stick with what you're doing, right? In terms of, say, if you want to stick with go ahead and do another moot. But each subsequent moot that you do has to be better than the one that you've done previously. And if you participate in 2 online moots at a time, it doesn't make sense. At least all successful mooters I have seen when I was in your place, like when I was in first year and they were like these third, fourth years who were doing moots, that's the trajectory that they followed. Like IMCC, one national moot, one international. If you want to do one more, one another one. Or you can go back to national as well. I mean, it's not like you cannot, right? But I think there's so many things about whether there are national moots in international OC pool, which I think I mean I don't know if TMS का orientation हुआ था क्या? Was there a TMS orientation before this?
हाँ हो गया था.
So yeah, you must know that there's an IMCC list and an OC list, where open challenger के लिए you don't have to participate in IMCC. Like that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about international moots. So normally that's the trajectory that people choose to follow if they want to. So the question is all about whether you wish to keep following a trajectory, or I mean it's not a crime that you'll like fall down and choose something else. That's okay. If it works for you, it works for you. It's cool. But yeah. Right. Anything else? From your IMCC's perspective, all the best. Super helpful. You're welcome. Yeah, also tells you that I'm in my hostel and not in my home, because that wouldn't have been allowed. There would have probably been a very much more decent background. Cool. I'm glad I was of help. Do get in touch. Do pester the TMS to have you sessions which will help you, right? Because it's important. I believe IMCC, it's not about the days of the competition, whenever you're having it, February 25th, that weekend, I think, or whenever. It's not about those days. I think merely from an IMCC, or the benefit or the value that it adds to you and what you will be doing, it's going to be all about the preparation to it, which is also what I think I was suggesting these people. That the preparation that goes into IMCC is much, much, much more important or pivotal over the actual competition itself. Of course, that's important from the point of view of getting a rank and getting a moot and lotted and getting participating in a moot. But this is going to be your sort of basic structure, which is going to be important, and it has to be strong. So emphasis on research and have fun mooting. I think that's about it. You have a I don't know, more sessions will follow. I think there's a plan also that these people are having. Let's see if that goes through. Even if that doesn't happen, and there are like many ways to go about it. But yes, we will have hopefully more of such sessions. But and again, not this same very face again. You have someone else who can help you more than I did. Cool. I think I'll take you leave. If TMS wishes to continue, they can, but I gotta go. So thank you so much. 20 minutes. I think. Excuse me for going overboard. See you all. Bye.
No problem. Thank you so much, Yash, for taking the session.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so guys, it was really nice to see you all in this session, and I hope you guys are clear on how the process of IMCC will work. Yes, Soumya Ranjan.
Yeah, I was searching in the mail, and once you send a case study for 9th NLUO Bose and Mitra Co. International Maritime Arbitration Moot. So, does that type of case study we come across in such moot competitions?
Yeah, it is the moot competition that we organize every year, and it is the kind of problem that you will come across when you will go outside and participate in the national and international moots. So it is based on maritime law. So you can see that, yeah, mostly that are the kind of problems.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. And so, as Yash told, that after the problem is released, the research is the very important part of the mooting. So to help you guys with that, you guys might be aware that there are research databases like SCC, Manupatra. To help you use them more efficiently, we will be having a session tomorrow. A senior of us will be taking it for you guys. She will help you understand how the platforms SCC and Manupatra works and how you can use them for more efficient research. We will be telling you the details of this session at a later stage, but I think I will see you guys there as well, and you will take the benefit of this session. It will help you in not only research in mooting, but in general for your projects, internships, everywhere. So thank you, Priya. And we are also planning other sessions before the IMCC, obviously, to help you out with other things, memo, drafting, speaking, everything. So I hope you guys will be able to take benefit of all of this and have a nice experience in mooting. For any doubts, issues, you can always approach any of the TMS members, and mail us, contact us with WhatsApp, anything. If you have any doubts, do let us know. Maybe we can end the session if there are no doubts. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.